Welcome everyone. Today we have a new American bomber for review, the long-awaited Sr-71D Blackbird. Let's not delay and move on to its review. The Sr-71D Blackbird is an attack variant of the world's fastest reconnaissance aircraft, which in the game is capable of reaching a speed of 1,213 knots on afterburner, equivalent to 2,246 km per hour. This is even faster than the previous speed record holder, the SR-72 Dark Star, which reaches a speed slightly lower than the Blackbird, 1,186 knots, equivalent to 2,196 km per hour. The Blackbird also outperforms the Dark Star in survivability, as it has almost 2,000 more HP. Otherwise, they are identical: radar range, 16 km, maneuverability 65 points, squadron size, 1, aviation reserve, 2 pieces. The main difference between Dark Star and Blackbird, in addition to external and speed, is the presence of a sonar in Dark Star, which allows detecting submarines when flying over them. Although, frankly speaking, for an aircraft whose main task is to deal damage, and not reconnaissance, the presence or absence of a sonar does not change the situation much. Speaking of damage, let's move on to the equipment of the new bomber. The SR-71D modification includes the installation of high-precision weapon in the internal compartments, as well as the presence of an additional mount for a tactical drone in the upper plane of the fuselage. In total, the SR-71D has 3 types of missiles: the AGM-69 SRAM nuclear missile, which deals 60,000 damage per salvo, the AGM-62 Walleye gliding bomb, which deals 30,000 damage per salvo, and finally, the main distinguishing feature of this bomber, the tactical drone, D-21, which deals a total of about 80,000 damage. Total burst damage, 170,000. This is generally a standard amount for bombers. For example, its closest competitor, the Dark Star, deals about the same 170,000. And this is understandable, since both of these bombers are not strategic, like the B-52H Stratofortress, Tu-95MS, or H-8. These bombers easily inflict burst damage of over 200,000. But they pay for this with not very good speed and poor maneuverability. In the case of the Blackbird or Dark Star, we are talking about supersonic speed, and therefore about different tactics of use in combat. Speaking of tactics, let's move on to tips on playing this bomber and directly to tactics. Now, having played about dozens of battles on this bomber, I can say that its main tactics are quick attacks from behind the enemy. Thanks to its enormous speed, we are able to get behind the enemy in the first minutes of the battle, fly up close to him, and drop our arsenal from a lethal distance, at which it will be too late to use heat traps, or the enemy will not have time to react to them, and then fly away just as quickly from the attack site, and then make another approach to the target. Thanks to the same high speed, the Blackbird is able to run away from air defense missiles for a long time, or even hide behind uneven terrain, preventing air defense missiles from hitting itself. We can say that the Blackbird, just like the Dark Star, is a raider bomber that suddenly appears, deals damage, and then quickly leaves the enemy air defense zone. Now, of course, no one forbids you to just hang 5 kilometers from the surface and drop your arsenal on the enemy from above, but this is not exactly what both of these bombers were created for. It is also worth explaining what a lethal distance is. Lethal distance is when you get close to an enemy ship and drop your arsenal right before the readiness indicator changes from green to orange, or right next to the ship. Usually performed at high speed. In this case, it will be very difficult for air defense missiles to react to the threat, and players do not always monitor enemy aircraft, so they will not have time to activate heat traps. In this case, full damage of 170,000 is guaranteed. Now, how do you fight the SR-71D Blackbird? It's very simple: either stay close to your allied team or close to the islands, and avoid open spaces. Because of its speed, the Blackbird is unable to maneuver quickly in afterburner, which will force it to slow down to aim its missiles at you. This will make it vulnerable to anti-aircraft systems, and the nearby terrain will prevent quick attack tactics. Otherwise, the Blackbird will simply crash into the terrain after dropping its bombs. Overall, SR-71D Blackbird is a good bomber, but it requires your skills. It will suit those who like high speed and fast burst damage. However, it still seems to me that this bomber should have its missile HP buffed, and maybe its damage increased and its reload time reduced. Otherwise, the Blackbird turns out to be a copy of Dark Star without its main features. So I think we can expect a buff for this bomber. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful for someone. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your naval battles.